Hi, I'm a programmer, which means I solve problems all day by finding bugs and unintended features and connecting the dots in the code until I figure out what's wrong and fix them. Unfortunately, when I'm done with work, I can't shut off that part of my brain, so I connect all the other dots that I find. And Savannah has a lot of dots. I've lived here for 9 years, and I was quickly seduced by the lovely people, the depth of culture, the food, and the natural beauty. But it didn't take long before I started seeing what felt like bugs in the system that is Savannah. So now I keep track of the bugs until I can connect them and fix them. Talk faster. The first and brightest dot in Savannah is poverty. And it's the one I keep coming back to. Savannah has a poverty rate that hasn't budged in almost 30 years at 26%. Chatham County is right behind at almost 18%. Doing the math, that's 51,000 of our neighbors living in poverty. And around 55% of the county lives below the affordable housing rate of $33,000 a year. Economic anxiety is the second dot. With so many of our friends one paycheck away from economic devastation, economic anxiety is rampant. It keeps them from taking risks, investing in long-term gains, and adds to stress, unhappiness, and resentment. It doesn't help that a lot of our big employers love to hold those jobs over their employees' heads when they start to speak out. How many friends do you have who've lost their job or been threatened with termination for standing up for what's right? Oh wow, I'm way behind. So dot 3 is opportunity. If I've been told my whole life that I'll amount to nothing, have never met a successful entrepreneur, and don't have a network of professional connections, how the hell am I supposed to recognize and take advantage of opportunity? If I'm living paycheck to paycheck, how am I supposed to invest in a future that feels just as bleak as my present? So the freelance wave is next. I'll come back to that. I have a whole other slide later. So, dot 5, hoarders. People living under the poverty line give over 10% of their annual income to charitable causes. People making over $200,000 give less than 4%. I don't know why. We'll figure that out. So, dot 6 is food. I love it. The first thing I fell in love with in Savannah wasn't the squares or old buildings, it was the food and its history. Southern food culture is rich, delicious, and full of stories of overcoming poverty, lack of resources, and hunger with creativity. Dot 7 is our proximity to nowhere. If you think it's bad in town, get out in the agricultural rural communities. Opportunities are even more limited, poverty higher, and the outlook is bleak. Whatever fix we come up with, it needs to include the rural poor too. We need to bring their farms and their pain and promise to our tables. And the last dot. Our local government has been ineffective so far at fixing any of these issues, to the point that we can't even have a productive public discussion about them. I think that's mostly because the powerful in this town think of these bugs that keep 27% of our neighbors in poverty as a feature and not something that desperately needs to be fixed. So that's a lot of dots. So let's start connecting some of them. I'm sorry if I thoroughly demoralized you over the last 3 minutes. Don't worry, I have a sneaky plan. This is also called the segue. Pretty sweet, right? Okay. So if we can't, I'm just going to keep going. It'll catch up. If we can't count on government or the great and good to be partners in this effort, we have to do it ourselves. With capitalism. My sneaky plan is to use our wealth of food culture, great ingredients, talented people, and mass of tourists to create a new sustainable and equitable economy built on craft. I call it Low Country Made. We will be a craft incubator that helps people define, refine, market, sell, and distribute craft-made products to tourists who visit Savannah and to a wider world enthralled with Southern culture, using a physical presence via pop-up shops and maybe an eventual permanent store and a web store. I do web things, that's my job. So let's say you make the best pickled okra in the state, because pickled okra is fucking delicious. You come in and we'll talk about what your goals are and what you make, and then we'll work together on a test batch and see how it sells, and Then if it works, you give us a license to make it while you retain the rights to the name, the recipe, any branding we come up with. We'll help you refine your store, your branding, your marketing, and then sell it, your product, through the physical and online store. This step is where a ton of people get victimized by snake oil and end up wasting money and time going it alone when they should be part of something larger. Building an audience isn't easy and it's not free. So let's build that audience together. So if you become the okra queen of Savannah, you say, I don't want to sell through you anymore, and you start selling to whoever and wherever you want, and we'll find the next okra queen of Savannah and make something else that's not okra. So the end goal of all of this is to bootstrap a whole new, more equitable economy. The process of developing, building, launching, selling, and distributing products is intensive and complex and requires labor that's skilled and fairly compensated. That process should provide a ton of opportunities for people to join the workforce, grow their skills, and maybe do some good at the same time. So I skipped over the freelancers, we'll go back. So we need to grow where we're planted. So the 25,000 freelance people that used to be full-time employees before the mortgage crisis, they're now entrepreneurs of necessity. They need opportunities, support, and mentoring. If we can turn them into CEOs of their own 3 to 5 person company, do the math, we've solved poverty. That's thousands of new jobs in Savannah, turning tourism from a blight to something good. So there's a lot to do. This idea, it's still just an idea. It needs to be fleshed out, defined, funded, and built. But there are other great ideas in this town that could solve problems. We need to talk more, we need to collaborate more, we need to break out of our silos. No one's coming to save us, it's us. So that's my idea. I'm going to keep working on it. You can sign up for the email list there. You can tell me where I'm wrong and how to fix it. And eventually you can all join our Early Tasters Club. We get to try new products and come to parties and help us make a more equitable economy along the way. Thank you.